Testing 1 million, 2 million.
Anybody we started talking about him, and who the hell is Warren Buffett?
The Oracle of Omaha.
You do not have to cheat to make money.
He's the man who gave $37 billion to charity.
There we go.
I enjoy the idea of building an endowment fund up for society.
We have our instant coffee machine.
Warren Buffett is the genius behind Berkshire Hathaway.
Warren Buffett, chairman of Berkshire Hathaway.
The stock of the Berkshire Hathaway Company closed yesterday at $100,000 for each share. Warren Buffett is probably the greatest investor we've ever seen.
My daddy said, Warren's like someone that can see in the dark.
He started with $10,000 in 1950, and now he's worth $40 billion.
But Warren Buffett is not your average American. If his appearance is as unremarkable as Clark Kent's, he has superpowers too, though his are all about making money.
He has tremendous analytical powers. He thinks of things that other people don't think of. When we were little, our dad said, Warren's like someone that can see in the dark. And I always remember that.
Warren Buffett, the middle child and only son of Howard and Leela Buffett, was born on August 30th, 1930, in Omaha, Nebraska, in the early days of the Great Depression.
Bread lines, soup lines, all of that. His father's a stockbroker. He loses his job when Buffett's a small kid.
Howard Buffett sold securities on his own, but it meant lean times for the family. Still, when many Americans were eating in soup kitchens, Warren's mother skipped meals herself and managed to put dinner on the table for Warren and his sisters, Doris and Roberta. Buffett already knew what it was like to be poor when, as a 6-year-old, he took his first step toward getting rich.
Pays a quarter to buy a 6-pack of Coke from his grandfather's grocery store, and he sells them for 5 cents each. That's a 20% return, and that's really what he's done all his life.
I think Warren inherited some of his ability, certainly with numbers, from my mother, because she was really good at that. She could add numbers faster than an adding machine.
And from his father, he learned something equally important.
You do not have to cheat to make money.
I think his influence on all of us was a strong sense of truthfulness, honesty, and setting standards for yourself. Warren really adored my father.
Howard Buffett introduced his son to investing at an early age. Warren was only 11 when he and his sister Doris bought stock in the energy company City Service.
Early on, I sensed that he knew what he was doing. We got 3 shares for $100. Of course, the stock went down.
It went way down. Of course, he was in a panic. And it sold for a little profit.
But soon it went up to 200.
He obviously learned it, so not to sell too soon or something like that. I mean, he has always been the habit's been to hold on to everything ever since then.
He started with $10,000 in 1950, and now he's worth $40 billion. I wake up every night. Now it's fun to look back on.
In 1962, Buffett had his eye on a New Bedford, Massachusetts textile mill called Berkshire Hathaway. It had one important thing going for it. The stock was cheap. 3 years later, he had bought enough shares to control the company.
It's sort of a Ben Graham type of stock. It's traded down, stock is traded down. The reason it's traded down is textiles are not such a good business anymore. But Warren thinks he can make a profit on it.
But soon, the going got tough.
He told the management, look, I want the cash out of this business.
So what he starts to do is to squeeze the business. And whatever little dollar of profit he can squeeze, instead of putting it back in the textile business, he buys an insurance company, he buys a chain of weekly newspapers, he buys a steel plant, and little by little, he begins to diversify, to reallocate the capital out of that textile mill into business with better futures.
And eventually it becomes holding company for all of his other investments.
While Berkshire Hathaway the mill was withering, the holding company's assets kept growing. As an investor, Warren Buffett was phenomenally successful. He outperformed the Dow year after year, and in 1965 by a whopping 33 percentage points.
Okay, sorry, Jamal, because possible, the video is pretty long. Okay, let me do a test check. Testing. Testing. Is it working? Testing. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, okay, it's working right now. So we're gonna start right now officially. Okay, let me show you what we're gonna cover tonight. So at that point in time, you want to go back, you can go back. Now from now it's approximately like 7:40. 7:40. From 7:40 p.m. approximately plus minus until 8:40 p.m. I'm going to cover one important segment called the interpretation of financial statement, which is demarcated by the Batman. For those people who have done the 4 days course, predominantly the content that I'm going to present, I would say 80% or 90% of it is not found in the 4 days course. Okay, got it? Yeah, so if let's say you have not attended the 4 days course yet, it makes no difference. So 100% is you have not covered. Okay, that makes no difference. So that will be from 7:40 to around 8:40. Then after that, there's going to be like 20 minutes break. After this 20 minutes break is maybe it's around 9 o'clock. Oh, 10 passes very fast. So 9 o'clock. So from 9 o'clock until around maybe 9:30 or 9:40. Maybe I just put 9:30. We're going to cover this thing on DLS. Now, I just want to double confirm how many of you absolutely have not attended this before. I may have chance. Don't have. So, you've done this, Sure. Okay. So I'll adjust my speed accordingly. Okay. Then after that, after 9:30, any point I can leave at that break on TV. So you're here, it's fine. So at 9:30, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you the demonstration on thing or two. That's about it. It may take, let's say, another 5 minutes. So from 9:30 maybe until 9:35 or 9:40. Then that's it for tonight. So for all these things, to me, most important is this portion. Okay. But yeah, so this is what we're going to cover. So for those people at home, it makes no difference that you're at home anyway. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to start right now. But before we do, we're going to play a small game. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, again. So ladies and gentlemen, invite every single one of you to just stand up quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, invite every single one of you. I want to look for 5 ladies and gentlemen, 5 people quickly. My name is. And you high five and then you say Happy New Year. So ladies and gentlemen. High five. Look for 5 people. Look around. 5 people only. 5 people. Look for 3 more. Look for 3 more. So for those people, I hope you high five yourself. Okay, 2 more. For those people, I hope you high five to your brother, sister, or whoever. Quickly, 2 more. Quickly, stick my hands quickly. Okay, one last one. Quickly, one last one. Wow, quite quick, Okay, that's fine. Okay, so let's get yourself around. Okay, instantly we just did it. Okay, let me read this about it. Okay, so serious stuff. Now, so right now, let me show you before I jump into the part about interpretation of financial statement. Let me zoom up into the big picture. Now, eventually, for the purpose of investing, of course, we want to make some money out of it. Like just now what Warren Buffett was saying. Now, Warren Buffett started investing at what age again? You were saying at age what? Age 11. Then he bought this company called what? CD Services. So the share price went down and then eventually went up. So then subsequently, in 1962, he bought over this company called what? Berkshire Hathaway, which is predominantly what they do, a textile company. So textile company during that time was sunset industry. So because it was sunset industry, Warren Buffett was thinking, what do you think he wanted out of the business? He wanted the cash out of the business. So once he want to squeeze as much cash as possible, he take every single drop. So once he take the cash, did he reinvest in the textile company? No, what do you think he did? Yeah, he could invest in some other things. Now, so before I start, let me show you a framework which has to do with this. Now, I'm going to make an assumption that all of us in this room, you should either be drawing a salary. That means you're a salary employee. You could be this. You could be self-employed. You could be self-employed, or you could be running a business. So whatever that I'm going to share this in this whole process, I'm going to cover everything. Now, how does it work? Let me put it in very simple terms. Now, in order for us to generate a certain income and then eventually we can live a certain lifestyle that we want. Now, there are two portions to it. The first one, whether you're a salary employee, whether you're self-employed, whether a business owner. Now, whatever things you do, what do you want? You want to generate something. So what kind of things do you want to generate? Yeah, you want to generate some form of income. So whatever income comes in the form of a paycheck or your business or whatever. Now, of course, the money comes in, some has to go out because you pay for your food, your transportation, or whatever. So income minus away what? Your expenses. So this one minus this one, then end up with something, it could be your savings. And then when you have the savings, you do something else. One is maybe you spend some, or you go and buy a car or whatever. Okay. So let's say you go and buy a car, buy something, you want to live a certain lifestyle, you go for a tour or whatever. So you spend it. Or you could buy some liabilities. Now, so let's say you bought some liabilities. Which one will it generate? Will it increase the income or does it increase the expenses? So you go something else. Yeah, so every single thing is a choice. There's no right or wrong. Some people need to have a certain lifestyle. They need to have a certain type of watch, food, a car, or whatever. Now, having said that, a portion of a savings can also use to buy something. Now, give a guess. What do you think you can buy? And as of this context, yeah, you can buy stocks. So in this case, specifically, let me write this down. Specifically for tonight, we are talking about income producing asset. So ladies and gentlemen, can we all say together? What kind of producing asset? Income producing assets. Now, so because the asset produces income, assuming that it can be a real estate, it can be business or whatever. So income goes into which part? Goes in over here. So as the income goes up, what happens to your savings? Yeah, goes up. So you can do this, whatever. But if let's say your income goes up, but you take the savings and then do this, and then you go here, then back to square one. So it's always either a net here or a net somewhere. But eventually, if let's say your end point is to reach a certain form of financial freedom, now one simple definition is that income producing asset should generate enough passive income, far supersede whatever expenses they have. Then you can choose another one. So the key for tonight is this thing. If we are searching for an asset that produces income, not look good at home. Okay? So it's an asset that produces income. Now, why is this important? In the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you a video, and it's a great reminder. So a lot of people ask Warren Buffett, why stocks? Gold, silver, commodities, painting, or wine or whatever. So why stocks? Why not all other things? Now, in this video, it's a very important video. It's going to last approximately 5 minutes. So what I need to do is you pay attention to what he has to say, and you will change how you look at stocks ever again. So I'm going to play the video right now. It's an interview between some radio hosts and so on. Okay, so it goes something like this.
For joining us and giving us all this time. 3 hours is it benefits us, obviously benefits viewers. If you were Charlie Sheen, I just figured out you'd make $12 million in 3 hours. So you're doing this. I don't think we're paying you that. So
no, but Charlie Sheen is paying me for being his media advisor. I'm actually doing very well.
Some of those when he said gnarly, I said that has got Buffett's fingerprints on it. Just because you said gnarly, here's listening to you talk to Warren. When you say with your comments about bonds, that makes me think of financial assets in general, which includes stocks. And I think about the printing presses, not only in this country, but around the world. You've seen the commercial with the central banks. And there are periods where financial assets are great, from the early 80s to 2000. And I just wonder if there's then periods where hard assets are great. And you see Paulson in gold and some of these other guys in gold or commodities. Are you just not comfortable with commodities? Are there times where you should be downplaying maybe stocks or businesses and going totally full bore into commodities, but you're just not comfortable doing that?
No, the alternative would be, Joe, the alternative, I don't like fixed dollar investments at all. I don't like short-term bonds. I don't like long-term bonds. We have a lot of short-term bonds, but that is not because we like them. It's just a parking place. But the alternative, in my view, I mean, certainly commodities can be an alternative, but the alternative is income-producing assets of one sort or another that are not fixed dollar type investments. And so I've said consistently for the last few years, I would vastly prefer to own common stocks than fixed dollar investments over a 5 or 10 year period. I don't know about the next 5 hours or 5 days. And that might very well extend to rental real estate. It might extend to farms. I mean, an investment, you're looking for something where you put out money now and that asset that you buy gives you back more money over time. Now, the problem with commodities is that you're betting on what somebody else will pay for them in 6 months. The commodity itself isn't going to do anything for you. So there's two types of assets to buy. One is where the asset itself delivers a return to you, such as rental property, stocks, a farm. And then there's assets that you buy where you hope somebody else pays you more later on, but the asset itself doesn't produce anything. And those are two different games. I regard the second game as speculation. Now, there's nothing immoral or illegal or fattening about speculation, but it is an entirely different game to buy a lump of something and hope that somebody else pays you more for that lump 2 years from now than it is to buy something that you expect to produce income for you over time. I bought a farm 30 years ago, not far from here. I've never had a quote on it since. What I do is I look at what it produces every year, and it produces a very satisfactory amount relative to what I paid for it. If they closed the stock market for 10 years and we owned Coca-Cola and Wells Fargo and some other businesses, it wouldn't bother me because I'm looking at what the business produces. If I buy a McDonald's stand, I don't get a quote on it every day. I look at how my business is every day. So those are the kind of assets I like to own, something that actually is going to deliver and hopefully deliver to meet my expectations over time. A piece of art, may go from $1,000 to $50 million, but it's dependent on what the next guy wants to pay me. The art itself, the painting itself, is not going to dispense cash. So I have to find somebody that's going to like it more. And with an asset like gold, for example, basically gold is a way of going along on fear. And it's been a pretty good way of going along on fear from time to time. But you really have to hope people become more afraid in a year or 2 years than they are now. And if they become more afraid, you make money. If they become less afraid, you lose money. But the gold itself doesn't produce anything.
Well, speaking of gold, though, we're looking at gold prices, and they were at another record high. They're at another $3 today, $1,434 an ounce. And there have been some big hedge fund managers, like a Paulson or a David Einhorn, who have really buckled down on these bets. Why would you steer clear? And do you think what they're doing is the wrong thing?
Well, I just don't know. I don't know where the cotton's going to go. I mean, we use a lot of cotton, and I watch it go from 80 cents to $1.90. We use a lot of copper, and I watch it go from $2 to $4 plus. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things in this world that are going to go up and down in price. Maybe the hammers will tomorrow. But I don't know how to judge that. I do know how to judge, to some extent, the earning power of some businesses. And the real test of whether you would like it as an investment is whether you would be happy if it never got quoted again, and just in terms of what the asset did for you. But that doesn't, I would say this about gold. If you took all the gold in the world, it would roughly make a cube 67 feet on a side. So if you took all the gold in the world, we could have a cube that went down there 67 feet, 67 feet high, and that would be the whole thing. Now, for that same cube of gold, it would be worth at today's market prices about $7 trillion. That's probably about a third of the value of all the stocks in the United States. So you could have a choice of owning a third of all the stocks in the United States, or you could have a choice of owning a little block of gold, which can't do anything but kind of shine there and make you feel like Midas or Croesus or something of the sort. Now, for $7 trillion, there are roughly a billion acres of farmland in the United States. They're valued at about $2.5 trillion. It's about half the continent of the United States is farmland. You could have all the farmland in the United States. You could have about 7 Exxon Mobils, and you could have $1 trillion of walking around money. And if you offered me the choice of looking at some 67-foot cube of gold and looking at it all day, you know, and touching it, fondling it occasionally, you know, and then saying, you know, do something for me. And it says, I don't do anything. I just stand here and look pretty. And the alternative to that was to have all the farmland in the country, everything, cotton, corn, soybeans, 7 Exxon Mobils, just think of that, and $1 trillion of walking around money. You know, maybe call me crazy, but I'll take the farmland and the Exxon Mobils.
All right, that makes some sense. Carly, you've got a question too?
I'm still trying to get the image of Warren fondling a giant block of gold out of my mind.
Just fondling it occasionally. What stuck with me?
Bring me a giant block of gold and you'll see me fondle like you've never seen before.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, the interview is actually pretty long. It was like an hour plus. So I spent a lot of time watching all this. So it reminds me a lot of things. Now, so what did Warren Buffett say? So if given a choice for the same amount of gold, which is what, 67 feet or something, you know, a cube by the size. And then as compared to 1 billion acres of farms, 7 Exxon Mobils, and then $7 trillion of cash. Now, which one would Warren Buffett choose? Yeah, the farm. Why? What did he choose? Yeah, which one? Because the gold don't dispense cash, but the farm and the 7 Exxon Mobil do. Which is why we go back to this whole thing. Remember, all along, whatever income they are producing here, we are searching for an asset that dispenses cash and produce income, not something that you hope next day somebody will buy at a price. But again, remember, I just want to highlight, there's no right or wrong. It's a matter of choice. So in the olden days, my mom used to like to buy gold. So they always have this feeling that gold curbs inflation or something hedge against inflation or something. So there's no right or wrong. But as I grow older and become wiser each day, I would prefer to buy something that actually dispenses cash. So for example, every single day I collect cash, or 3 months a year I collect cash or whatever. So a couple of months ago, let's say, if I'm not wrong, maybe around 1 month ago, I just collect like 2,000 plus from IBM for doing nothing. So the business is spent the 2,000 plus. But if I use the same amount of money to buy a gold, I get nothing. They don't buy dividend. 2,000 plus of IBM dividend. Dividend tax, should be after tax. How much do I buy? I buy a lot. Yeah, I don't want to pay you. Okay, so I buy a lot. But anyway, so for tonight, let me zoom in. We're not going to cover about income, you know, this lifestyle. Okay, so what we're going to zoom in is we're going to zoom in the process to search for something. So ladies and gentlemen, guess what are we searching for? An income producing what? Assets. Those things that dispense cash. Okay, so how do we search for it? How do we search for it? Now, in the 40s course, we will have certain procedure or criteria or whatever to search for it. But for tonight, it will be something bonus in addition that we're going to cover in the 40s course. Okay, which is outside. And I'm going to use a company as a case study to go through this whole thing, this whole process. So what's the company that I'm going to share with you? Now, before I start, I just want to share with you this. Now, all businesses start small. It can be a one-man show, after that become two-man show, then become three-man, then five-man, then 10-man. You know, it grows along the way. And there reaches a certain point of time where companies maybe they make a choice. The management, the CEO, the founder decided they want to grow. But when they want to grow very fast, they need something. What do they need? They need cash. They need cash. So you know, need cash. They look for friends to have. But they need millions. For example, they need 100 million, 200 million. And investment bank is not going to lend them. Okay, they have one choice, or they have one choice. What do they can do? They can do this thing called an IPO. So IPO, what they do is they take the whole company and they break it up into a X number of shares, and then they like issue out these shares. So when they issue out these shares, they in exchange for cash. Cash. For example, maybe they say, one share is 20 cents, and then they can issue, I don't know, maybe 1 million shares. 1 million shares, So the amount of money they take is simply 1 million times this one. So they'll take the money. I don't know what they do with the money. They pay themselves or whatever. Then they use it to expand. Okay, so this is IPO. But after the IPO, the company become publicly listed on whatever stock exchange, Singapore Stock Exchange, US Stock Exchange, or whatever. So in this case, Toastbox, right? Toastbox, It's under a company called what? It's not Red Top. So Red Top is listed where? Singapore Stock Exchange. It's the same thing. They issue stocks and then take the money, they go and expand and so on. Now, so once they become listed, right, you can buy and sell a portion of the business in various forms called the shares or stocks. And also, I'll be very thankful for this course. But I just want to remind you, is behind every stock, right, is a business. So later I cannot say together. Now, behind every stock is a business. Now, the stocks will do well in terms of the share price shooting up. Now, the stocks will do well only when the business do well. So, in other words, for you to make money, you must buy a good business or a bad business. You must buy a good business, especially a business that can expect cash in some ways, appreciation or whatever. Okay. So right now we're going to zoom in. So the reminder is simply this. Sometimes I can tell you we forget. We thought that we buy a number and then pray very hard next day it goes up. But remember, the only time when this thing will go up in the long run is when the business do well. So we have to buy a good business. So how do we buy a good business? Now, before we talk about buying a good business, let me go back to here. Now, what do you think Toastbox? Of course, Red Top, they have a lot of subsidiaries and do a lot of things. Now, if let's say we talk about Toastbox specifically, now what do you think they sell? They just show me some of the things that they sell. Maybe just give me 5 things. Kaya bread, okay, some more. Coffee, okay, some more. Nasi lemak, laksa, okay, one more. The cakes and eggs and so on. Now, my question to you is, can you open another shop and sell exactly the same thing? Okay, then my next question is, why do you think people will visit yours as compared to Toastbox? Let's say you open one beside. Same floor area, same chairs, and everything the same, then make the same amount of coffee. So what makes you think that, let's say when you open up beside, what makes you think that people will visit your versus that? You have to get Canadians to what? David can just say, he kind of very, like, Singapore, a cold joke. Can you just say, no, I asked the question, I asked the question. What makes you think that people will go to your coffee shop and buy a coffee and not go to Toastbox? David, can you please see out your answer? Hey, you have to get a joke. Hey, later, can you take me around? He's saying that only people only go to your coffee shop when somebody is that then you come over. Yeah? So my question to you is this: how come it's not the other way around? How come people don't go to your coffee shop until it's fully seated, then you cross over to Toastbox? What makes Toastbox coffee same as yours? Now let's say Toastbox make a coffee, and then your coffee shop make coffee. Then you do a blind test. Then you ask the person to drink. Now, do you think the coffee makes a difference? Unlikely, unlikely, yeah. But why David got this opinion that people will go there, fill up first and then cross over? Branding, okay, some more. Now there's a reason. Branding, some more. Branding. Maybe yours instead of Toastbox, you say Toast Socks or something. What else? Anyone else? Standard. Okay, perceived standard, very good. Anything else? Popularity, okay, very good. Some more. And there's a logic why I say this. Some more. Yeah, you could be having, maybe you're so used to see that already. Okay. Some more, anything, just for us. Economy is still, but from the customer perspective. Sorry? Because very fast. To you, maybe the coffee fresh. Why? Because your coffee is empty. So people worry their coffee keep there for too long. Yeah, so it's a perceived one. Now, why do I share with you this? It's because before Toastbox was started, right? Which one started to take things that is being sold in coffee and put in a shopping mall? Yeah, Akun. Yeah, Akun. Do you realize that Akun was the one who started this? But of course, before Akun was coffee shop was already there. What's the big deal? Then Akun took the coffee shop concept, right, and then opened one in the shopping mall. And then they make it very corporate. And what's the corporate part about Akun? Red. Then the cup also was Akun. So the cup was Akun, the whole thing red, right? But the seat, do you realize that the wooden chair damn small? Then when you see, you feel a bit uncomfortable, right? But you go there and then pay like 160, right? So you don't mind squeezing that. Yeah. Then subsequently, Akun initially was doing quite well. And they sold predominantly only a few products. The coffee, tea, whatever the drinks are. And then plus what? Plus the egg. Then plus the kaya bread. It's supposed to be very popular. So they started first. Then somebody saw that the company is making a lot of money. They decided to do exactly the same thing. Which is what? Which is bread. And do you realize that they have economic skill? Because originally they were really selling what? Selling bread. And if you look at some of the branches, what they did was they had already had certain shops that selling bread, which is the back top. Then what they do is they expand the floor area, let's say from here to another hill, and then turn this to sell coffee. Then after that they start to sell nasi lemak. Okay, ice kacang also have, you realize? Ice kacang also have, chendol also have, you realize? The one that UT one is such a low. Then after that they do this. Then what happened to Akun eventually? In order for them to catch up, what do you think they did? They realized that they can no longer sell the coffee, drinks, the bread, and the eggs, right? So what do you think they do right now, as of today? Do you realize that Akun now have Akun Cafe? Are you aware? You don't know. The one at Suntec basement, and the one at Bukit Batok. Yeah, Akun originally sell drinks. Then they put one word by the side, Akun Cafe. Then suddenly they sell the coffee, right? And then start to sell laksa, all this coffee also. Mee Siam, also. What do you think the Akun is doing? Yeah, the coffee. So in business world, let me show you in business world. In a business world, when one business originally started and is doing very well, and people outside see this business doing very well, they estimate or they put there like that to make some more money. So once they estimate that the business seems to be a profitable business and you have cash inside pocket, what do you think you will do? Copy. Yeah, you will copy and then you open another one. So in the world of capitalism, is the moment you see somebody doing very well, your eyes become very red or green, right? Then you attempt to start another one and then compete. So once you start another compete, what will Akun do? Akun, in order to survive, but they have to respond back. So they have to do something. They have to innovate or whatever. So before they sell Mee Siam or whatever, I realized that they start to do very cheap stuff. They sell the soda beer, right? In between spread the kaya, and then sell it at $2 or $3. People actually bought it. Oh, I'm quite amazed. Then what at home I can do, man? Yeah, but they actually do it. Then subsequently, I don't think they will work well. Well, and then they start to sell things. So yeah, the competition. Now the reason why I share with you this is 10 years down the road. Let's do a prediction. Just again. 10 years down the road, which one do you think will eventually survive and go bigger? Akun or the Toast Box? Toast Box. Oh. Okay, let me do a guess. How many of you say that eventually Toast Box will outbid Akun and Airtrans? Toast Box. Wow, serious. How many of you think that Akun eventually will outbid Toast Box and Airtrans? Hey, why like that? What's the thought? Ronnie, why? You know, because they use one slice and then slice the half, right? So I don't know. They don't measure. But the bread top, is it they use 2 separate sides? Maybe, yeah. Oh, yeah. They say thick toast. Okay, very good. Now, there may be very reasons. Maybe the bread very thick, this is very thick. No, meow, right? Meow, this is very thick. Okay, so there are a lot of reasons. But other than this, why do you think that Toast Box will work? Moved to a lot of countries. Akun, I think also have. Akun, if you go to the shop, you look at the sticker, right, they say I think Indonesia or Malaysia. Okay, very good. Now, why do you think BreadTalk eventually will venture overseas somehow? What's the reason? Economy of scale is bigger. Okay, very good. Why do you think economy is scale bigger? Can you say something more specific? Financially very strong, more money. So they buy more things per unit may be cheaper. Say more. More other products. Like. Okay, by the way, in terms of bread, it can reach you Akun. Akun never serve any bread. He just serve the kaya bread only. But this one got a lot of variety. Now, any other things? They have a better chance to survive than the one. Economy of scale, money, anything else? BreadTalk is listed, possible, maybe they got more money. Any other things? But if one day Akun tomorrow they get listed, do you think Akun get listed will be able to beat BreadTalk? Oh, you still don't think so? Very good. Any other thing? Just give me one more. There's a reason why I'm asking this. So you need Akun that. I know the uncle, the founder here is quite old. Okay, but anyway, yeah, there's a whole list. But to me, I just have a thought here. Now, the BreadTalk, this is opinion, this may not be a fact. Now, the BreadTalk, I suspect they definitely have a larger financial strength. In terms of money, they definitely have a lot. Okay, In terms of the product range that they can produce, right, under Toast Box, definitely more than Aqua. In terms of bread, they may outshine this. And then in Jurong West, there's one shopping mall called Westgate. I saw they open one bread talk cafe. Now, not bread talk cafe, Toast Box cafe. Toast Box cafe, yeah. Just right opposite Starbucks. And they sell cappuccino. So in other words, they go to a higher end. And you know, McDonald's last time was just a normal coffee, and then they start with McCafe. So same thing, they try to diversify, and then there's a middle end, lower end Toast Box, middle end Toast Box cafe. I don't think there's a high end. High end are the restaurants. So financial trend very huge. Now, what has it got to do with what we're going to do today? Because in the world of capitalism, it's like that one person make money, and another person also want to do the same amount in most of the industry. So in other words, in order for Aqua or for Bread Talk or Toast Box to survive, they need to have this thing in the business sense, which is called an economic moat. So then you can say together, it's called an economic what? Moat. Okay, now, so where does this word come from? In the olden days, when you see a lot of movies, like the king or queen or whatever, usually they stay in this thing called a castle. So why do you think a castle stands in between a huge amount of lake, like the river around it? What do you think is the purpose of the river? I put crocodile inside. Okay, so why do you think they put the crocodile inside the lake? It's for defense purpose. Defend against what? Enemy. So why would the enemy want to go inside the castle? Or maybe the princess inside. Okay, now. So am I right to say that the enemy wanted something inside the castle, or they want to take over the castle? Yeah. So because they want to take over the castle, right, they need to go over this water with the crocodile or whatever. Now, so am I right to say that the wider the river, right, the more difficult it is to penetrate the castle? Yeah. So sometimes you watch a movie, then you see like they got this door, right, and then they like chain, and then land, and then the horse come out or whatever. So this kind of thing. So this one is a moat. So coming back to here, using this as an analogy for businesses. Now, first time Aqua start the business, it's like starting the first castle, which is the first shop. So in order to fend off enemies, they have to do something about it. Whether it's branding, whether the kaya, this big or whatever, or some special recipe, they need to do something. Okay, but unfortunately, the enemy, which is another company, realize that they can copy what Aqua is doing. And not only they can copy, they can do even better. So as time passes, I see almost 100% a hand raised up that you believe that one did this, one may just follow this. So in other words, whatever castle that they built, the wall and the river or whatever is not so thick, or the moat is not so wide. So the moment the moat becomes very narrow, it's easy for enemies to take over the castle and then build their own. Okay, so if I could turn this into something more business-like, the term will be called a durable competitive advantage. Now, for those people who are taking the 4D course, this is another repetition. Durable competitive advantage. But I just want to repeat this, this is very important. So this whole thing consists of two components. One, the company must have something very special, must have an edge, okay, a competitive edge. And then this competitive edge, right, must be what? Must be durable. That means it must last very long. Now, because if it didn't last very long and you go and buy this whole castle, which is a business, so the moment you buy, next day cannot buy money. So whatever money they paid for this castle immediately disappears. So the business must be really durable. So the question is, what is the competitive advantage and what makes it durable? Now this one, there are two components. One is the qualitative part, and the other one is the quantitative part. Qualitative is you describe, but you need to have certain numbers to measure this. For example, if you look at some guy looks very muscular, and you ask the person, are you fit or not? Or the person say, yeah, I'm fit. So when the person is fit, is it qualitative or quantitative? Yeah, it's qualitative. Then you see the person, what? They say, show me a six pack. Then the person show six pack. So if you can count, maybe a bit of quantitative. Yeah, so the person say, I'm fit, I can do this, I can do that. Now, so what's the quantitative part to measure a person's health? What's the quantitative part? Maybe body mass index, maybe blood pressure, maybe blood glucose. Maybe ask the person run 10 K, see whether the person survive. Maybe heartbeat, blood pressure, so a lot of things. So for a business same thing, you can see, oh yeah, the Bread Talk has economy of scale. So is it qualitative or quantitative? Qualitative. Then you see, Bread Talk has a brand. So brand is qualitative or quantitative? It's still quantitative because you can measure. What else you say? You say maybe Bread Talk. Let's say you put a generic statement. You say Bread Talk very rich, a lot of money. So it's still very qualitative. So it's very qualitative until you are able to see the numbers. Because this is a bit guessing. This is you believe, you think, you conclude your opinion. But in order to justify your opinion, you need numbers to justify your opinion. For example, if the person say very fit, you can measure blood pressure normal. The person can run 50 clicks without panting or whatever. So you have certain measurement. The person blood glucose normal. Person muscles, right, don't know body certain amount of mass. So you have certain numbers to measure this. So what's going to happen is, let me show you some qualitative measure of a business.
At Berkshire Hathaway, we have.
But before that, let Warren Buffett explain to you what is the meaning of this economic mode or durable competitive advantage and the qualitative part. Then after that, I'll show you the numbers. This is the part about the interpretation of financial statements. What number justify what you believe? Okay, what number justify what you believe? So I'm going to show you the Warren Buffett's video first.
At Berkshire Hathaway, we have all kinds of businesses. We have 73 businesses now, and in businesses, we're looking for an entity that has durable competitive advantage. Somebody that not only is doing well now, but will do well 10 or 20 years from now. And capitalism, when you have a wonderful business, it's like having an economic castle. And the nature of capitalism is that people want to come in and take your castle. Perfectly understandable. I mean, if I'm selling television sets or something, there's going to be 10 other people that can try and sell a better television set. If I have a restaurant here in Omaha, people are going to try and copy my menu and do more parking and take my chef and so on. So capitalism is all about somebody coming and trying to take the castle. Now, what you need is a castle that has some durable competitive advantage, some castle that has a moat around it. And that moat, that's one of the best moats in many respects, is to be a low-cost producer. But sometimes the moat is just having more talent. I mean, if you're the heavyweight champion of the world, you keep knocking out people, you've got a competitive advantage as long as you can keep doing it. And it's very profitable if you're the one that happens to be able to do it. You can turn out great motion pictures. I mean, Steven Spielberg, I mean, he's a fellow to bet on, and it has enormous economic value. Well, we're looking for that institutionalized. We're not looking for the best brain surgeon in town. We're looking for the Mayo Clinic. So we want an institution that, regardless of the person in charge, will maintain that competitive advantage over the decades. And we hope we find out in some businesses, and then we try to get the best person that we can to run them. Usually it's the person who's been running them.
Are you always right, or do you make mistakes?
No, we make mistakes. It wouldn't be any fun if we didn't make mistakes. I went out and played golf, and every one of the 18 holes I had a hole in one, I wouldn't be playing golf for very long. I mean, you have to go to the rough occasionally to make the game interesting, not too often, though.
Any more? Okay, no more. Now, so ladies and gentlemen, what did Warren Buffett say? He said, give example is a low-cost producer. Now, can you give an example of companies which can sell things at very cheap price? Walmart is one. What else? Daiso, something's $2, $1. What else? Very cheap price. Mustafa. Okay, Mustafa, I think possible. I don't know how they do it. Hey, by the way, are you amazed that Mustafa survived very long? And they are the only one that first started with the 24 hours shopping mall. When they first started, people thought that they were crazy. Oh, but they are still doing it. No cost producer. But in case you don't know, I watched a lot of videos on Warren Buffett. And the favorite economic mode by Warren Buffett, from Warren Buffett, you know which one? No cost producer. If you are able to invest in a company, I mean below its valuation, right? And the company is a low cost producer, you can kill off any competition. You can kill off any product. Let me give you an example. If Aqua is like a Walmart, let's say Aqua is a Walmart. That close not set up one beside them. What do you think Aqua can do? Well, suddenly the coffee half price, and then the bread half price. So maybe Toast Box, let's say Toast Box is a small one, then they will also do the same thing. But the question is, how long can they do it? If you reach a certain point in time, until the bare bone, the one that will survive the longest is the one that is able to continue to sell this the longest. Okay? And the entity that's able to do this tend to be large or small. Has to be large. And let me show you one criteria. In order for this local producer to be a very wide moat, right? Now, the company or the entity has to have a large market share. Large market share as compared to the competitor. Let me repeat this again. This is very, very important. In order for this to work, this has to come. It has to be a large market share. Right? Yeah. In order for them to have a low cost producer. So if you look at Singapore, whether is it public listed or no public listed, let's say those supermarket. Which one do you think has the largest economy of scale? Yeah, I suspect it could be NTUC FairPrice. If NTUC FairPrice is listed, and Shimsha is listed, what's another one? Giant also listed under Dairy Farm. Of all these, if let's say I have a choice, assuming all the same, I will take NTUC. Yeah, they have a larger market share, I suspect. You count by the number of market that they have. Okay, so this one eventually will be a very good low-cost producer, which is why Walmart can survive for very long. We have the largest market share in the US. So let me repeat this. In order for the economic mode to be low-cost producer, the person has to be the largest market share. Yeah, low-cost producer. This is very important. And then I told you about this Arcon Toast box, the competition between this and this. I'm not very sure Arcon will last how long. But I got this feeling they eventually 1944 it may end like 2016. They put another batch of 2016 and then the tombstone. Okay, but anyway, let me share with you in the 4 days course, we will talk in detail about a few types of economic mode. The first one is low-cost producer. Yeah, so every item they can sell the cheapest as compared to other ones. So they can kill the competitor immediately by selling the cheapest. Another one is high switching costs. For those people who attended all this, can you just tell me examples of company that produce services or goods, right? That once you use it, it's very hard for you to switch from one to another. Apple, serious? Not really. Microsoft. Maybe that. If you ask me to switch Apple, actually I do. I'm so used to Microsoft. Of course, you may argue otherwise. Okay, what else? Some people in the corporate world, especially IT system, they talk about SAP system. Oracle system. Some things that are so it's going to be very difficult. So they want to spare the pain. So what they do, they continue to use the one. So high switching costs. Any other things? High switching costs. Yeah. Any other product? Very difficult switch. Once you get used to it. I'm not very sure about cigarettes. People who smoke. Is it difficult to switch from one brand or one type to another type? I'm not a smoker, so I don't know. Let's say Marlboro, then suddenly you want to switch to another pack. Is it easy or difficult? No smokers here. No opinion. Okay, never mind. Yeah. Okay, network effect. Network effect, that means once you get involved in a certain service or product, right, you realize that your friend also uses the same thing. And because your friend also uses the same thing, you want to can use another thing, cannot, because you're the owner. You're the only one that uses some other things. Now let me give you one example. In the initial days of Microsoft, they have this Microsoft Office, right? Word, Excel, whatever. Somebody started another free one, want to kill off the Microsoft Office. Which one? They call it Open Office. That was a few years ago. And then when I first launched, I realized that some corporate companies use Open Office. But what is the problem? Actually, I used it before. Wow, damn troublesome. The expansion, I think, is dot what? Wow, damn troublesome. Right? So what do you think is the troublesome part? Because most of the world use Microsoft, right? .xl, XLS, which is Excel, .do, which is Microsoft. Then the Open Office is another extension. So if somebody sends you a document which is an Open Office one, what do you think you must do? Sometimes cannot open. Then when you email to them, I don't know what they must do. Maybe they need to convert or whatever. So it was quite troublesome. So that was the one example. Network effect. Okay, Microsoft Office. Any other things? Sorry, it could be iTunes. A lot of people use you're so used to it. Okay, network effect. Any other things? Facebook is one good example. Because too many people in the Facebook. More people use the MySpace on this kind of thing anymore. So there's a network. So you have your own online community. Then you can go use some other funny thing you're there in the social network. So a lot of people in the Facebook. Any other things network effect? The more people use it, the more you just want to get sucked in. Don't have. Okay, never mind. Let me continue the next one. Now, intangible assets, for example, copyrights, trademarks, patent, trade secret, and so on. Now, can you give an example of, let's say, copyright, where you can make use of this intangible assets to make money? Copyright. It's not quite easy, copyright. Yeah, licenses, can you give a specific example? For example, movies or books. Now, Harry Potter, right, originally started the books. So J.K. Rowling write the books, and after that, the book eventually was converted to movies. So from movies, like spin-off some of it. What else is spin-off? The toys. Theme park. Very good. So all this, somebody at the back is collecting the money from license. So copyright. Any other things? Trademarks. Trademarks, KFC, McDonald's, and so on. Now, patents are the easiest. Which industry most likely have patents? Pharmaceuticals, and especially in technology. My wife worked in Seagate. She told me there's a category of staff, there's a department at Seagate has one of the highest paid. Give a guess, which department is that? R&D. The one that developed what? How many sell? So what's the department? Trade secret. What do they do? What's so special? How come the employee there they pay like 30% premium as compared to the rest of the department? They need more space. Actually, you're right. Now, this what last time I was serving NS, there was one guy who works in R&D in Seagate. This is what he told me. He told me in Seagate, right, because they are producing what? Hard disk. And hard disk consists of actually many disks inside spinning. That is a needle they will read. Okay. So in order to make the technology very advanced, am I right to say that per unit space of the hard disk, right, must store more information or less information? More, which is what now got what? Now terabyte. Now got what? 5 terabyte. What? Very small. 1 terabyte, so very small. Huh? So in order for them to store all information, am I right to say somebody must do something inside? Yeah. So this guy who is doing the R&D, he told me they had to find creative ways to squeeze as much information into per unit space. And then they have to save cost of the material that requires to create this, so that this whole thing can become very cheap. So what they do is sometimes the design, they say maybe they can cut one hole over here. And because cut one hole over here, what's small little hole, say 1%, right? Well, so when they produce a they can save a lot of money. So they'll find ways and creating means to squeeze information, do this, redesign the design, and so on. So eventually, once they able to redesign, the company will patent the design. And the person who is doing the design actually get quite a bit of salary. He told me in the entire company, right, his department has the highest salary. Because his department is the most important. Because if the R&D stop, that's it. All the company, economy more, right, become narrow, and all the company will take over. Okay, so coming back to the patent. So it can be technology, it can be pharmaceutical. How about trade secret? Trade secret, there are not many. Recipes, for example, Coca-Cola, KFC, Pepsi, trade secret. Now, then the last one, I put brand loyalty. Now, a lot of people, they see branding. Yeah, I know something is in the brand. Now, the other time when I hear this thing, branding, so to me, it sounds logical. But when I went over to Columbia University and Bruce Greenwald, which is a successor of Benjamin Greenwald, he said something. He asked the class, he said, how many of you drive BMW? And some people in the class. How many of you drive Mercedes? Then some other people also drive. Then he asked, whoever that raised their hand in BMW, can raise their hand. Hey, say, after you drive the BMW, will you continue to stick with BMW? Now, what do you think is the answer from the class? Yes. Yes. Okay. Maybe I ask this class because the class Angmo class, I don't know about Asian whether any difference. Now, how many of you drove whatever brand, and you will stick to this brand for a long time? May I have chance? You stick to whatever brand for a long time. Okay. How many of you drive, but you're not so faithful to the brand? That means if another brand comes up or another car with better model, you will swap. How many of you will do this? Okay. So this sample size around 50. Around 50. So eventually, what happened? Is this? What's the difference between the word brand and brand loyalty? Just a naming for it. And then what's the difference with brand loyalty? Brand loyalty means what? Yes, you stick to one. Now, in order, remember you own a business. Let's say you own Aquan. Do you think there's a brand loyalty in drinking Aquan's coffee? Brand loyalty. That means you will not drink other coffee. You're so faithful to Aquan coffee that you always stick with it. Don't have. So would you, if let's say it's Toastbox coffee, do you think there's a brand loyalty to Toastbox coffee? That means you will not drink all other coffee other than Toastbox coffee. No, right? No. So if let's say there's no brand loyalty to Aquan's coffee or Toastbox coffee, so do you think that the sales of their coffee alone would it be predictable or unpredictable? Unpredictable. Then let me give an example. How about Starbucks coffee? So if let's say you go overseas and then you want to drink coffee, there are a lot of whatever shop overseas. Will you like never want to drink the Starbucks coffee? Right? That means there's a brand loyalty. You want to Starbucks coffee again and again. Do you think Starbucks coffee has brand loyalty? Maybe, maybe. Okay, now this one I do not know. But ultimately, the whole discussion during a time when Columbia University was the Bruce Greenwald specifically say, you see, in order for the company to make money, there are two small things they need to target. Number one, they increase the revenue. The next one, they decrease something. They decrease what? They have to decrease the cost of the expenses. Then, of course, eventually, whatever the net income will go up. So, if the company, yes, they have a brand, but if there's no loyalty, people do not come back again and again. Will the revenue go up? So, if the revenue will not go up, do you think that the net income is predictable? No. So, if the business is not predictable, do you think that the share price will eventually go up? So now the key, whenever we say brand, we have to be very careful. In our mind, we have to differentiate between something that sounds nice, which is just a brand, and something that sounds nice, but they're able to generate the client and ask the client to come back again, and again, so that they can keep this very high. Okay, so this is very important. Now, when doing at a point of time, like 20 minutes when he was asking, it was a big realization for me. Okay, there's the difference between brand and then brand loyalty. Brand loyalty generates revenue, but brand alone may not. Okay, now, so this is the qualitative part. So how do we know that a business has certain form of economic or durable, sustainable, competitive advantage? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the company. Now, what company is this? I'll purposely choose this up. So I'll put here for 5 seconds so that you all have a closer look. Yeah, just kidding. Okay, Coke. Now I'm going to use the annual report for the Coke. But before that, now, by the way, I just want to say that I'm not recommending Coke. I'm going to read the red one very quickly. So under no circumstances does any information provided in today's section represent the recommendation to buy or sell a security. In no event, I'm liable to do all this. Yeah, last one is not intended. What does it constitute investment advice or recommendation? Because at home for 900 people watching. Now, so I need to show this. Now I'm going to move on. Now, in the entire quantitative measurement of a company and whether it has a durable competitive advantage for a good business. Now, there are 3 financial statements. The first one is called profit and loss statement. Now, give a guess. What do you think they are two? And the balance sheet. What's the last one? Cash flow statement. Okay. Now, let me reverse. I know some of you are owning some business. Like, for example, Ronnie runs a video company also. So, the moment you are self-employed running business, now you collect some form of revenue. And you need to incur some expenses. So in other words, there need to be a document or like a blood pressure measurement to measure something. So profit and loss statement simply records down how much you make and how much you spend. So whatever that's left over is either you make money, a profit, or a loss. Make sense? Now my intention is to explain in a simple manner. This is what accounting class. Okay, super layman term. The balance sheet, right? It simply record down what you own and what you owe. And what you own, they give a name, they call it an asset. What you owe, they call it a liability. And if you take the assets, what you own minus what you owe, whatever that's left is called equity. Or in simple terms, you hear this term called net worth. Like people say, I'm a millionaire. So millionaire, that means what? That means whatever you own minus whatever you pay on, then you call yourself a millionaire. It cannot be your house worth, let's say you buy a condo. Your condo recently 1.2 million, and then you say you're a millionaire. Do you think that's right? No, not yet. So everything is, it may not be right. Yeah, because you 1.2 million and maybe you borrow 1 million. Actually, your net worth is only 200,000. So when you hear somebody stay in a 1 million condo, you think that one's a millionaire. Well, not yet. Unless what? Unless the condo all fully paid off. Otherwise, he still owe a lot of money. Yeah, so a condo or bungalow owner doesn't mean there's a millionaire. Maybe, but not necessarily. Because after they pay off, maybe only have left 100,000. Yeah, so maybe there's a one. So what you owe, might as well owe. Okay, so in this whole office, you realize that assets are, for example, chairs, tables, lamp, whatever, all these assets. Now, another one, the last one, is cash flow statement. Cash flow statement tracks the money that goes in and the money that goes out. So in our context, it could be a bank statement, your DBS statement or whatever. It's whatever comes in your report. So you see auntie, right? Auntie love to queue. No, I don't want to show you, I'm quite irritated. You know, sometimes you want to deposit cash. And the same machine do some other things. What is another thing that the same machine can put the passbook inside? Right? So because your intention is good, then you see got 5 empty in front. Then the 5 empty put the book inside. Then you have to wait. And after that, here, after that, the book push out here. After push out, it's not over. What do? They pick out another one. That's sorry. What's in front of you, So the passbook, when they pull out, shows what? Show the money that goes inside the bank account and the money that goes out. So that thing that they put it in as though it's their cash flow statement. Does it make sense? And your paycheck is this one. You see the basic, your revenue. That one is a cash flow statement. But of course, they don't have an asset sheet. This thing, And the last one that we're going to cover throughout the next few months is this common ratios used in analysis. So if you want, you can take one. Hey, by the way, whatever they shared today, right, I'll make the video public and I will not privatize it just for this segment. So you can watch it forever and ever. Okay? And by the way, tonight it's impossible for me to finish all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish 50% of this one. And the remaining 50% over here and here will be in other categories. I don't want to overkill you. Got it? So let me repeat. We're going to cover which one, Benjamin, of all these 4 things. Which one we're going to cover? Profit and loss statement. Which one I find this one is the easiest to get started. Okay? Now, how does a profit and loss statement look like? It looks something like this. Now, you don't have to memorize and don't feel threatened. I just want you to have a feel that it looks like this. Okay, I'll give you 5-10 seconds to have a look. Usually on the very top row, what do we have first? The highest row. Just have a feel. You don't have to be very good at it. Just have a roughly this one. Roughly on top usually is what? Yeah, you realize there's the revenue. Then after that, right, they have to minus something called the cost of goods sold. Then they end up with gross profit. Then got all these things. Then got operating income. Then got income before tax. Then end up with money. So this is a rough representation of how most of our company will present the profit and loss statement. And it's quite standard. And this is the actual print screen of a profit and loss statement. Okay. Now to make this easy for laymen, or tonight, most of the time we're going to use this thing called the guru focus. Now the guru focus looks slightly better than this. Okay, here looks like quite crime. So the guru focus looks more spaced out. But the presentation, the 90% is the same as this. I think it's the font or whatever. Somehow it looks nicer to read. Okay. So this company, give a guess. What company is this? And I'm going to go line by line. What company is this? TO. Now, what's the first line? What does the first line have? Revenue. Okay, Lady, give 5 seconds. Can you tell me what does revenue mean? That's it. Now, some people use another term called sales. Some people use another term called turnover. They are exactly the same. Revenue, turnover, sales are the same. It's the amount of money that they make. So I'm going to ask you, in December 2006, how much do they make in terms of revenue? Million. Okay, this one at the back there should be 6 zeros. So 2400 and then million. So now that is there should be 3 zeros at the back. So it's 20. It cannot be 3 zeros, 24 million to be there. Let me check number. It should be another 6 zeros at the back. Yeah, let me have a look. Okay, here. Go back to here. This is code. Let me scroll up. Scroll up. They will say the numbers is in terms of, let me scroll up. All numbers are in millions except per share data. So in other words, if I go back to just now that one, go back to one of this. Which is this, This one, I'm supposed to add how many zeros at the back? 6. Okay, so 24,000 and then a million at the back. Okay, so this is the one. Now, this is the third one, so everybody understand. Now I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to explain a few terms. Take out just for a few seconds. How did they get this 14909? What minus what give away 14909? You realize that this one minus this one. Now, standard all P&L statement, they will put revenue followed by this cost of goods sold. Now, before I give you the explanation of what's cost of goods sold, can you just give a guess? What's the definition of this? What is cost of goods sold? Okay, let's say this one I think yesterday I explained, but for the sake of most people, let me explain this again. If let's say I run a coffee shop, let's say I work with EBIT, then I produce this then I sell this to you $1. $1 is my revenue. $1 is my revenue. What is the cost of goods sold? It's the cup, some more. The water, some more. The tea bag, some more. Electricity, it could be some more. Labor cost, some more. The hot water, some more. So anything that is involved directly to produce this is called the cost of goods sold. Now, am I right to say that Hostbox, they got some clerk or administrative staff at HQ? Now, the cost for the administrative staff, the HR, the training, the one is not part of the cost of goods sold. Why? Because the cost is indirect. They are not directly producing this calculator. Anything that's directly involved to produce this is called the what? Cost of goods sold. So the $1 minus cost of goods sold, let's say is 20 cents. $1 minus 20 cents, your gross profit will be 80 cents. So what is the gross margin then? If 80 cents is the gross profit, what is the gross margin? Now I know for some of you who are more financial, suddenly your mind wants to go somewhere. Now what else? Then what's the gross margin? Okay, let me write down. I know some people are very visual. Your revenue, hang on there, $1. Okay, cost of goods sold, let's say it's 20 cents. Now your gross profit, ladies and gentlemen, is how much? Gross profit, no, not 20 cents. The gross profit is how much? 80 cents. 80 cents, huh? How about your gross margin? Margin is usually in the form of percentage. Give a guess. No, someone? What divided by what? Just give a guess. Wrong is okay. 80 cents divided by $1 times 100%. So how many percent is that? 80%. 80%, huh? 80% gives you a feel. If you're the boss that sells this, it gives you a feel that every dollar of a drink sold, how much will you make? So if this drink is $2, how much do you think you will make? 160. No. If let's say this drink is $2, in terms of dollar and cents, how much will you make for $2 of drink? $1.60. Does it make sense? No idea. It's oh, you're using this. I'm saying it's not 80%. 80% of $2. Okay, hang on. Yeah. Now, so my question to you is this: if you are able to start a business and you're 80%, do you think it's a good business or a bad business? Good business. Every dollar you need 80 cents. To you is a good business. Huh? So if you're running this business, do you want this gross profit, right? It's 80% to go up or come down? Well, the higher the better, right? What if 90% even better? 80% is better. So my question to you is this: how do you know whether your business, which is selling industry, has an economic model? The quantitative way, based on what we are checking. How do you know? How do you know? Ability to maintain what? Gross margin at 80%. It is one. Some more? Any other things? How do you know your business is economic? Because somebody can open up beside you and kill you over that. If you are able to reduce the cost of goods sold, very good. Any other things? What else? Increase revenue. So do you realize that this gross profit, right, there's only two components involved. One is the revenue and one is the cost of goods. So if you are, which is why sometimes you work at a company, the company will say, hey, this year cut cost. This year we want to produce hard disk, we cut cost. Or then here they want to squeeze, some retrench. This is a department, do a lot of funny things, right? So do you realize that what they're tending to do is to reduce this as much as possible? So when they reduce this, assuming that this stays the same, what will happen to the margin? You increase. Huh? And one way is to reduce this. What's another way? Is to increase this. Is to sell more of this. Does it make sense? Or sell at a higher price. Now, in order for you to sell this at a higher price, what do you think you need to have? Okay, customer who is silly enough to buy this thing at a 110 or 120. What else? Branding, perceived value, very good. Perceived quality, very good. Okay, what else? Sorry? Service, very good. Service, maybe good service, a person have no choice but to come back. Anything else? Good location as well. So a whole bunch of things that is going to increase it. So ladies and gentlemen, actually what I'm going to cover in the next 10 minutes, right? You really answer all of my questions. Now, what is the meaning of cost of goods sold? Now you don't have to go and copy this. Okay, just to have a few, it's a direct cost or indirect cost? Direct cost. Now this video I'll open up to you all perpetually, so you can access it. So you don't have like copy then I'll just want you just focus and then stay focused. Okay? Now, so direct costs are so the revenue minus whatever required to produce that this thing, right? Is whatever is left is the gross profit. I'm going to blend this off so that this doesn't confuse you. So gross margin is what you explained to me. Is you take gross profit is revenue minus this, right? Gross margin is simply take this gross profit divided by what? Revenue times 100, which is just now you say, right? Taking the 80 cents divided by $1 times 100. Okay. Now, the key is to make sure that this gross profit, right, is consistent, or it better increase across time. So for a long period of time, if this gross profit is consistent or increased, then the income is predictable. So my question to you is this: when you want to invest in a business, do you want to invest in a business that has predictable amount of money or unpredictable amount of money? Predictable, of course. That's investing. The higher it is, the better it is. Let me repeat this here. The higher it is, the better it is. But higher is so big. How high is enough? How high is enough? Now this code, let me show you this. When we say high, we are looking for something that's more than 40% in terms of the gross margin as a guideline. But the more accurate one is to compare within the industry. Okay, but the rough bet is above 40%, ladies and gentlemen. 40%. If the gross margin is above 40%, there is some form of durable competitive advantage. But you have to go look for the qualitative, but what exactly? But in terms of numbers, must be greater than 40. If it's less than 40, that means the company is in an industry that has extremely high competition. High competition. Another one less than 20 is the worst. This one I will close anytime. No sustainable competitive advantage. Now let me give you an example of certain industry that is highly competitive. But in my line, sometimes I need to do the brochure. Let's say printing a brochure. Now, do you realize that printing a brochure is very competitive? What do you think I will do if you're in my position? If you want to print brochures, what do you do? I go Malaysia and print Singapore all time. Assuming that you want to stay in Singapore, what do you think you'll do? You go to different firm, and after that, what do you do? You get quotation. Then the 3 1 hour later, you look for the lowest one. Assuming that the customer service don't screw up. Okay, if they produce basic, if they don't say, no, sir, that's right, they don't have so much. But they give you what you need, and that's enough. So you realize that printing industry very competitive. Yeah. You go for a lowest quote. It can be some other things. For example, I print that petrol I buy, very competitive. I call a few companies, find the cheapest, and then print. And then printing of my books, I'll do the same thing. That one actually I don't bother to remember. So I don't know what kind of money they have. But if it's more than 40, I think unlikely printing business. Getting this, So my question to you is this: do you think Coca-Cola is above 40 or lower than 40? Above 40. Okay, so here you may have a few that maybe Coca-Cola has a durable competitive advantage based on the number. Now, who is Coca-Cola closest competitor? Pepsi. The whole industry, do you realize that only these two? These two, For how long has Coca-Cola been the market leader? For how long? Very long. Since the last time you remember. Maybe day one when you're born, you know Coca-Cola was then followed by Pepsi. So they have been in the market leader for damn long. So what does it mean? It simply means that Coca-Cola most likely has certain form of competitive advantage, which allows them to become a market leader for so long. Now, the computer, the chip inside, there are only two companies, like Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Which are the two? Intel and AMD. How long has Intel been the market leader? Wow, also very long. So the market leader don't change. Yeah. So can you give me an example of any product where the market leader change all the time? Phones, smartphones. You look at the smartphone industry. Initially it was what company? So you know, Nokia. After Nokia is what? No, apa surat? Is it Motorola or is it Sony Ericsson? Yeah, Sony Motorola. Then after that, somebody came out something and that's it already. Which is Apple. Then after that, Apple thought that they would dominate for very long time until what? After Samsung. Then Samsung also right now like dying halfway. After that, China got one called Xiaomi. So do you realize in the smartphone industry, the turnover for market leader is very high as compared to drink beverage, as compared to the Intel chip. Yeah. So what does it mean? It simply means that when you buy in one company, which industry do you want to go into? The one that stays out very long or the one that changes all the time? Stays very long. Yeah, so be very careful because that one is more predictable. Okay. Now let me show you Pepsi. Pepsi is what? You tell me which one has a better gross margin. Coca-Cola, the first one. The second one is Pepsi. Which one? Coca-Cola. Can you see here? 64 percentage point here, 56. Here 60, here 53. You see the market leader, the number shows, not because they just say it. Yeah, the number shows. So Coca-Cola, and this one is the Pepsi. Pepsi, yeah. Now, this is Pepsi, yeah. Hey, by the way, Pepsi don't just have Pepsi. Pepsi sell a lot of funny things. Okay, now, hey, you want to go? Let me show you some more. Now, I'm going to go down again. Go down. I'm going to go down some of this. Then, when you go down, there are more expenses that is incurred. Okay, another type of expenses that they call it selling, general, and what? Admin expenses, or they use SGA for short. Now, what is SGA? SGA includes all the direct and indirect. Do you realize that this one was direct? This one includes the direct, indirect costs, and all other tapalang things. For instance, personnel costs, advertising, rent, communication costs are all part of selling, general, and administrative costs. Did you see that? Then here you know what advertising, R&D, you know what? Yeah, do you think Coca-Cola needs a lot of R&D? No. See here? This is your. Then got something I totally don't understand. Coca-Cola got advertising. Coca-Cola should advertising because I'm like, okay, well, then you see a lot of advertising. Then my question to use is, then how come you don't focus here? How come you dash? Then I thought maybe this website's for advertising only money. What do you mean by advertising only? How come here dash? I realize what? I realize that sometimes the guru focus, maybe you can trust like 80% or 90%. Why? Sometimes what they do is guru focus. Remember, guru focus don't produce the information. They get the information from somebody else and then classify them. So I realized that Coca-Cola or Disney has advertising costs, but how come here's all dash? Then I realized what? I realized that Guru Focus took the advertising cost and then lump it with something. They lump it with what? SGA, which is why you don't have. Because I went to annual report, I double confirm that they actually do this and then lump it. So they do have advertising. So be careful in case you see this. Oh, the company no need to advertising, but they may lump it under here. Got it? Got it? Now, so okay, here's slightly more cheap. The percentage of this SGA relative to the total revenue. That means this 8824 relative to the number over here, the revenue over here. It is an indication of how efficiently the company operates. Why? Because the SGA. Now, do you want this number to be very high? If you're the boss, do you want this number to be very high or very low? Very low. The lower the better. How low is better? How low is low? How low is good? It must be less than what? 30%. But I can tell you it's very rare. 30% that they say is fantastic. If it's 100%, that means I want to die already. Okay. Now, do you think Coca-Cola has this kind of number? Less than 30%? Let me produce for you. I calculate for you. I copy and paste. I use the Excel file. I copy this whole row, and then I copy the gross profit over here. Then I take this divide by this, and I realize that it's 59, 60, 59. So is it less than 30%? No, it's not fantastic. Okay, as compared to that, just like here. Yeah, it's not fantastic, but this. But do you think it's right for me to just take this and then compare with this and say that, oh, it's not very good? Now, what we should do, which is a more accurate measure, use a number and then compare this number or compare within the industry. Now, so which one do you think I need to compare with? Pepsi. Because the whole beverage only got these two giants. Now, which one do you think is better? Coca-Cola or Pepsi? Which one has a lower cost? SGA as compared to gross profit. Eligible quickly, 5 seconds, which one is better? Coke or Pepsi? Coke, obviously, all 59 here, all 60 plus. Yeah, the more accurate measure is compared to the competitors within the industry. Okay, now let me carry on. In the last gathering, which is a veteran gathering, I talked about out of 3 companies, I talked about 1 company, which is the company that I talked about, New Skin. So among New Skin, by the way, is in the MLM industry and a lot of competition. So what I do is I randomly pull out 3, which is New Skin, Usana, and Herbalife. And I'm going to show you the numbers. Okay, now I'm going to show you numbers, and you tell me, right? And you tell me which one do you think has a better gross profit margin. Okay, I'm going to show you. Okay. Gross profit margin is what? Ladies and gentlemen. Okay, steady, hang on there. I'm going to revise. Steady, ladies and gentlemen, the first rule, right, in the profit and loss statement starts with R. Revenue. Revenue, after that, we got something. Cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold. I use great means minus. After that, this minus this, you have something. Gross profit. Summary, gross profit. Then after that, group focus, they have this thing called the gross profit margin. What is gross profit margin? Is equals to the take gross profit divided by something. Divided by what? Revenue multiplied by 100%. Okay, look careful first. I didn't draw that. Okay, coming back to here. Now, give a guess of these 3 companies. Let's say the whole world, there are only 3 MLM companies. Which one do you think has the best gross profit margin? New Skin. New Skin. And remember, you're the investor. In the whole world, there are only 3 companies, and you want to pick the best. As of now, because there's still all the criteria. As of now, you may want to pick New Skin, assuming the all other things stay the same. Does it make sense? Yeah, but remember, this is only 1 criteria. That means you want to find a girl to get married or find a husband to get married. You can only see the nose. You can see the eyes, see everything. So now you only look at not saying that there's no sharp, but the rest are okay. Cannot, So all the things must be. Okay? Now, then the next one is just now I introduced the SGA expenses. Now, where does this come from? I think, okay, after this gross profit, right? A margin. What's the next one? Red color one. SGA. Yeah, which is S stand for what? Selling, general, and administrative cost. So what I do is, how do I get this number? I take this one, divide by what? Gross profit. I take this, divide by this, multiply by 100. So if the percentage is less than what is considered good? Less than 30. Let's check. Let's check these 3 companies. Okay, I give you 10 seconds. That's why I tell you, you cannot just look at the loss. Do you realize that it's less than 30? Coca-Cola is roughly around what? 60. Then the Pepsi is around, I think, no, Coca-Cola is around 50 plus. Somewhere close to 60. And Pepsi is around 60 plus. And if you look at the MLM, do you realize it's higher? A lot of expenses, SGA expenses. Now, what is this number at the back? This number is, I take the average of all this percentage. So you have a guide. So of all this thing, assuming that all others the same, which one has very high SGA expenses? New Skin. So even though gross profit, New Skin seems to be okay. Okay, here I just put New Skin, maybe champion, score 1 point. Champion score 1 point. So this one in terms of gross margin. Gross profit margin. This one, number 1 is score 1 point. The second one is SGA over gross profit. In terms of percentage, now who scored a point? Yeah, Herbalife scored a point. Bang. Okay, so out of all the words, you see which one is the best. Okay, so now next right here. Okay, now let me carry on. Advertising, I already show you. R&D, you already understand. So I told you, hey, how come no advertising? Yeah, I realized that in the annual report, in Coca-Cola, right, they lump this advertising expenditure under this. Can you see? In the annual report, they break down. They say SGA consists of stock-based compensation expenses, advertising, bottling and distribution expenses, other operating expenses, and then lump it. So they break down. So actually, they're advertising. R&D, I do not have you in the whole annual report. I cannot find. Oh, no, that means what? That means the syrup has been using for don't know how many years. Now, the formula for Coke, you realize that it hasn't changed for. The only thing that changed maybe got Coke like Diet Coke, Cherry Coke, Vanilla Coke, or whatever. Other than that, they've been selling the same old syrup for 50 years. So can you imagine you own a company where they sell the syrup for damn long, many years? Maybe like Ribena, maybe they keep selling the syrup again and again. Without doing any research. Quite amazing, huh? And as compared to yesterday, we talked about fossil. You know, fossil the watch. Every time must have this pattern. So the watch, the design that is relevant for this year, right, may not be relevant for next year. But this kind of company is what they can reproduce the same thing again using the same old formula. Okay, so advertising is here, research from there, I cannot find. Then what's other operating expense? I realize that Guru Focus define other operating expenses, all this thing. Or restructuring, acquisition, litigation, or whatever. Too many to list. But here is all the Tapalang one. Now, so if you take the gross profit over here, you minus all the SGS plus all the Tapalang thing. Now, you end up with what? Measurement, you end up with operating income. Okay. So, later, if you are paper review, can you just help me copy this? Just help me copy this. Now, operating income, another term is called EBIT. We are almost at the end. After this, no more. After this, tea break. Because I know we cannot take it if I continue. Now, operating income is also known as EBIT. Now, anybody can tell me what does EBIT stand for? Earnings before interest and tax. And then sometimes you will hear another term called EBITDA. EBITDA is EBITA. Now, can anybody tell me what EBITDA stands for? Earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. And hang on there. This is the last part, I promise you. I will not continue after this. Yeah, steady, Steady, if you digest this, right, you will learn more than. Do you realize that those people at 1046, do you realize that we never talk about EBIT, EBITDA? We never talk about gross margin. And it's important. Because if you buy an undervalued company where the gross margin is getting smaller and smaller, they buy a cheap company, but the share price may never go up. Because why? Because the company business is deteriorating. And yesterday we talked about one company called Gas, where the gross profit is deteriorating. So it may be cheap, undervalued, or but cannot stop. And it stays undervalued forever. And one day it hits. Yeah. And the margin, right, will decrease usually before the stock price falls. So in other words, the gross margin, always when decreasing, is a pre-premonition about the disaster that's going to come. Okay, that's usually the case. So that's why the margin, falling margin, very important. It's a premonition. That means they give you a sign. Now, like last time in the olden days, when the earthquake comes, like some animals, they'll make a lot of noise, or the birds will migrate. So when the birds start migrating, it's like a sign that something is going to happen. So same thing. In this case, it's the margin, it's the gross margin. So come back here, operating income also known as EBIT. So what they do is they take the operating, they take the revenue minus the cost of goods sold. Revenue minus cost of goods sold. So they still minus what? SGA. So they still minus what? R&D. R&D still minus got other something like other expenses. And then I realized there's one thing that wasn't included in the Guru Focus is of all these things, one term inside this green box was missing. What was missing? The depreciation, depletion, and amortization was missing. I cannot find it. Then later I found it somewhere. But before I tell it, where is it? Actually, here there should be a depreciation. Depreciation, amortization. I'll explain what is this, and then that's it. We go for break. And then depletion. Then after you minus all this something, right, you end up with something. So, Benjamin, can you tell me what this is called. What? Operating income. That's it on the page. Now I'll explain the rest of them first. Operating income. Now, so what is, anybody can tell me what's the difference between depreciation, depletion, and amortization? It's like a counting thing. Depreciation is for what kind of things? It's for assets. It's for what kind of assets? Hardware, correct. Something that touchable. And this kind of touchable assets, right, is known as what kind of asset? Tangible asset. Solid. Then what is the opposite of something that's touchable? Something that's tangible. Intangible. Can you give an example of intangibles? Brand, pattern, all these are intangible. Okay. So when you are depreciating something that's very hard to tangible, it's called, they use a separate term, it's called depreciation. Amortization is for intangibles. And there is this funny term called depletion. Depletion are for companies that is relevant to mining company, oil digging company. Because let's say your house at the back, there's one cave. Then the cave, you realize that you found a gold mine. But do you think that the gold mine is there perpetually? One day you dig, you slowly deplete, right? So what the company does is they estimate how much oil, how much whatever things you have, the gold, whatever minerals are. Okay, from there, then as you dig, right, they start to deplete. They start to minus off. Okay, so let me repeat it. Depreciation is for what kind of assets? Tangibles. Amortization is what kind of assets? Intangible. This is for my goal, all the kind of stuff. Okay, so so depreciation, tangible assets, stable stress. Amortization, pattern, depletion, actual physical depletion of natural resources, oil companies, timber, minerals, oils, etc. And at the end, you have this operating margin. This will be the last thing, no more. So, anybody, can you tell me how do I calculate operating margin? It's simply take operating income divided by something. Give a guess. Oh, this one, there are certain rules. By the way, this one we are going to accounting, but we are not going to go. I just give you a hypothetical example. Let's say real life example for office. Office, we need certain equipment. Right? Let's say computer. Let's say Ronnie, videographer, they need the video. Cameraman need the camera. Will the camera, the video cam, will the computer last forever? No, it won't last forever. So am I right to say one day this device will fail? So depending on the accounting standards or depending on the company how they do it, there are many ways of depreciating. Now let's say let's say this laptop is $2,000. Yeah, the accountant or whoever in the accounting department, they may choose to take this to 2,000 and then divide across 2 years. So they take this 2,000 and divide by 24 months. Every month it reduces by this amount. So in other words, this 2,000 get cheaper and cheaper. Okay, until when you fully depreciate, that means based on profit and loss, this computer actually don't exist, but you may still be using. Now let me give you a real life example in my ex company. In the next company I work in SBS Transit. I can tell you sometimes accounting can be kept quite creative. Now, what are the assets, right? What are the tangible assets in SBS Transit or bus company SMRT, right? That makes money. The buses, correct? The buses is tangible. There's no brand name. No brand name you also take. Yeah, so buses. So buses will not live forever. So one day the bus will fail. So when you're the boss, you buy one bus, single deck, double deck. What must you do? You must depreciate. Let's say one double deck costs, let's say 250,000. They must do an estimate. Okay, now I buy this bus 250,000. How long this bus will last? Maybe 20 years. So they will take 250,000 divided by 20 years. Then they have this money amount. Whatever. Then every month they will deduct this. And this depreciation is an expense. And there was one point of time many years ago before I left. The CEO was a young chap, 2 years old, damn smart. Now, when the bus reaches a certain point of time where you really get it go there, there are few things they can do. What do you think the company can do? Scrape. But when the bus is scraped, can you use the same bus again? But if you want to make the P&L look good, what do you think you want to do to the old bus? If you can think of this, that means you're a businessman. Okay. Huh? I sell away here. Okay, maybe you sell away the script better. What do you do? What's the most optimal way? What do you want to do? Write off, and then the actual bus in your depot. What do you want to do with the actual bus? The old bus depot. Sorry, refurbish. Now there are few ways. One is scrape away. You cannot take the bus go out and pick people, right? So no money. One you sell to someone, but in Singapore you will sell to SMRT. Okay. So you got no one to sell to. Sell to Malaysia, maybe Penang, or they will still buy the bus. Yeah. What the CEO did was this. The CEO compiled the list of buses, right? Compiled list of buses that reached the like terminal IC already, you know? IC already. Then they emailed the list to LTA to ask for approval to do something. Give a guess. If you're the boss, what will you do? Refurbish. In the profit and loss statement, the bus has completely depreciated. It's as though this bus no longer exists on paper. But physically, after refurbishing, the bus is still outside collecting money. Yeah. I think I cannot remember this, but it was for a few years. Okay, by the way, a few years is a lot. One bus running 365 days for many years. And on paper, this bus don't exist. But outside collecting money because fully depreciated. Based on P&L, there's zero expense. But that physical hardware of bus, zero expenses, they are outside collecting money. So it's like you, how should I put it? It's like you buy a machine at zero cost, but the machine is dispensing cash for you at zero cost based on P&L. So for the year, the income at the end, does it look good or bad? Good. But there's so long you can squeeze for the old bus. You reach a certain point of time and like the stage cancel the bus has to go. Eventually, I tell you, a lot of old bus was sent for scraping. Then after that, the CEO tendered resignation. After that, the new CEO take over. Now when you took over, where are the old buses? All scraped, right? What do you think he has to do? Is buy new buses. Now when you buy new buses, what happened to the expense? The expense should up. What happened to the net income? The net income tax. So you come in at the wrong time. The wrong time. But every double decker bus is quite expensive. No, that's quite expensive. But anyway, this is the real thing. So this is for depreciation. So for the bus, is it tangible or intangible? Tangible. So do you think SBS has a depletion? Okay. Amortization, I don't think they have. I don't know about SBS is brand new. Okay, now I don't think there's much. Anyway, it's more about depreciation. So anyway, okay, operating margin is very easy. It's here. Operating margin is simply taking operating income divided by revenue, then multiply by 100. And these are the terms. Like if you want measurement, if you want, you can just take a photo of this. This is my last slide. No more. Let me check any more. No more. Okay, we're going to go for a tea break in the next 3 minutes. Okay, ready? 1, 2. Okay, never mind, the link is in the closed group. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now this is the operating margin for Coke. Let me share with you see on. Oh, I just want to highlight something. Now, operating margin is quite important. Why? Nokia, right? Nokia's problem was well known. You know, now it's iPhone and whatever. And his stock has lost more than 90% of its market share since 2007. But Nokia's operating margin had already been declining before the share price fall. So it's a premonition. Okay, although his earnings per share was still rising. So remember, one of EIA criteria was EPS must be up and consistent. But it's not the ultimate criteria. So in this case, Nokia's EPS were going up, but the margins were coming down. This is not a good sign. The good sign is EPS, earnings per share, goes up and margins are going up. And the same thing applies for RIMM, Research in Motion, another company. The premonition is the margin were falling. And if you caught this premonition, you may not have invested. Yeah, so knowing the margin is very important. It is not covered in the forecast. Okay. Now, Coca-Cola's margin looks something like this, operating margin. So what is your opinion? Going down, right? Oh, that's scary, right? So if you're the boss, then your CFO show you this chart. What do you think you want to do? You screw the CFO. You fire the CFO. Okay, you see how say, hey, boss, hey, it's not like that for a number of years. So your KO's chairman. What's the next question you ask? Never mind, just guess. It's for fun only. Quickly. What will you do? You're the boss. How to, okay, your next question is, CFO, I pay you for what? Tell me how to move this thing up. Okay, now, this one. What else? What else? Okay, of course, whatever say is going to be fine. So when I saw this, it sort of like it stopped my thinking. Because all I thought, cool, everything should be stable and forever. How come this one is like that? So before I talk about making that line go up, what I wanted to know is what happens. And then when I look at the annual report, I realized that there was a cause for this fall. And give a guess, what do you think is the predominant cause? Okay, that thing should be very good. Some more. Okay, health conscious could be health conscious. Some more. Maybe it's Coke Light. Some more. Now, where are Coca-Cola being sold? Where? Everywhere. So when you are the boss, you started a company where your product is everywhere. Something affects your revenue when it's everywhere. Recession, some more. Inflation, some more. The currency. The currency. Like Singapore and Malaysia. The conversion $1 to how much? Now $2. But if you sell Coke in Malaysia, right? Walao, rugies, yeah. I'm just saying. There's more information, but I'm not going to read all. Okay? Let me share with you some things. Okay? Can you see some of the things? In 2013, foreign currency exchange rate unfavorably impacted the consolidated operating income by 4%. And then the whole chart information talking about the currency. Yeah. Then here it talks about fluctuation in foreign currency by 8%. You see? And then here there are some of their companies' productivity and reinvestment program. There was some losses. Operating income was reduced by 37 million. So there are a lot of factors. But when I continue reading, I realized that one of the key things that caused the fall was in the operating margin was in fact the currency exchange rate. So now if you see this, don't get too excited saying that it could be other things, competition or whatever. But we need to read the quantitative part. To click with the quantitative part, why justify this? Now, so my question to you is, do you think any company in the world can directly control the currency? No. Yeah, not yet, maybe not yet. So this is too bad. So if it affects, most likely it's going to affect all the companies. But what we are looking for is, are there any screw up in the company per se, which is a non-currency fluctuation? If then that will be a cause for concern. Okay, got it. So remember, where falls, don't get too excited. Understand what I think about this currency. There's not much a company can do unless they really do a huge screw up consistently across time. Okay, a lot of information over here. So I'm going to skip that. So coming back in here, this is how the statement looks like, and this is what we have covered. For this whole chart, we have covered this, and that is about it. Okay, now let me jump to here. Which one is better, operating margin for Coke or Pepsi? Coke is here, Pepsi is here. Which one is better? Coke. Yeah. How about New Skin, Usana, Herbalife? Which one is better? Let me write down. This is the operating margin. Operating margin. Which one? It appears to be Usana for this one. So 10 or more. Okay, this Herbalife. Usana. 10 right here. So this is the third one. Operating margin. Wow, so long draw it. Yes, that percentage. We haven't thought about valuation yet. Okay, so that's it. No more. Oh, finally you survived accounting 101. Okay, now, okay, so later we're going to go for maybe just a 10-minute toilet break and go out, drink a cup of coffee or whatsoever. So before we go back, we need to do a small ritual before we go back. So ladies and gentlemen, may I invite every single one of you to just stand up quickly. Stand up, so ladies and gentlemen, can we stand hands together? After this, we'll probably okay, so you are in financially free. Oh, sorry. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Hold on, make yourself a little bit and get a complex and later. Now, for those who don't want to go back, then go back. Now, for those to stay, I'm going to cover 15% of the VLX. So I'm going to cover just selling goods. Just selling goods. For those who are staying, they can go back. For those who don't understand, like you can stay back. You guys I see nobody in the class, I'll go back. This one I'll only cover selling books. Then after I cover selling books, I'll just do the thing of demonstration. How you click, what you click for selling books. Which may take maybe another 10 minutes. Okay. Sorry? Yeah. No. So guys, those people who are at home, I'm going to stop this for a while, and then after that, I'm going to post a new link for BLOS. BLOS, I only talk about selling food, and then I'll use Stream to do a demo for them. So in case you want to go sleep, you can sleep already. Okay, so in your mind, I see you later. For those people.